Slope is one of those topics that is most frequently tested on the ACT, as it is fundamental to understanding algebra and lines. So as a review, what is slope? Well, slope represents, for every change in x in a line, how much is y going to change? So you may remember that slope is also equal to rise over run. And this is really helpful when looking at a graph, as we'll see in the example below. So let's find the slope of the 4 lines in this graph. So let's take a look at the blue line. So do we want to find the rise over the run for this? Yes, we do. However, we know that there is no rise because it's a horizontal line. So the rise is always going to be 0, no matter what the run is. So you can always make 0 over anything is equal to 0. So the slope, represented by m, is going to be 0. Let's take a look at the pink line. Well, we know that that's a vertical line, so x, the run, it doesn't really exist. It doesn't change, so it's 0. So there's nothing. So anything over 0 is undefined. So the slope of a vertical line is undefined. What about the orange line? Okay, so finally we get to do a standard rise over run. So let's find a point that is an integer value of x and y for an easy reference. So there's one. Let's find another one. We got one here. And one more. We have one there. So let's go the rise. So that's 1, 2, 3. So y changes 3 in the positive direction. And then we go over 1 in the positive direction. And let's do it again just to double check. 1, 2, 3. And then over 1. So for the orange line, we have m equals 3 because we have a rise of 3 over the run of 1, and it's all positive. And then let's do the yellow line last. So here's an integer point there, which is an integer for x and y. Here's another one, make our values nice and clean, and there's a third. So we're going up 1 and then to the negative 2 in the x direction, and then up 1 and then to the left 2. So the rise is going to be 1 over the run being negative 2. So overall our slope is negative 1/2. Alright, let's take a look at the next example. A line passes through the points 2, 1 and negative 2, negative 2. What is the slope of that line? So again, slope is going to be the difference in y's over the difference in x's, which can be represented as rise over run. So we can say y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Technically, you can also say y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. They're the same thing. The most important thing is that you do not mix up your y2 and your x2. You don't want to switch, for example, you don't want to say y2 minus y1 over x1 minus x2 because that will give you the wrong answer. So y2, negative 2 minus y1 minus 1 over x2, negative 2 minus x1, which is 2. And that is going to be negative 3 over 4, and that will be our slope. Okay, let's look at the bottom left example. The standard equation of a line is ax plus by equals c. What is the slope of the line written in this form? So the slope of a line, if you're looking at a standard equation of a line, is actually just going to be negative a over b. So if you're ever given something that takes the form of ax plus by plus c, it's just going to be negative a over b is going to be your slope. The reason why this works is because you can actually rewrite the standard equation into the slope-intercept form. And essentially what the slope-intercept form does is it isolates y. So let's actually isolate y here, just as a quick proof. So I will rewrite this as, so y equals, subtract ax from both sides, ax plus c, negative ax plus c, and then we're going to divide both sides by b. So divided by b, divided by b. And then you'll notice this looks like it's in the form of y equals mx plus b, and m is always going to be the slope in slope-intercept form. So m times x, so in this case, negative a over b represents m, because x is going to stand by itself. So negative a over b ends up always being our slope, so you don't need to go through that proof every time. You don't need to worry about rewriting the equation. You just need to know that it's negative a over b. Next question, an equation for a line is given as y minus 3 equals 2 times x plus 1. What is the slope of this line? Well, this form is actually known as point-slope form. Point-slope form for a line can be found when you're given a point and you're given a slope. That's why it's called point-slope form. And what it is you take y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, where m is the slope. So the equation, when it's in point-slope form like this, actually gives you the slope. So the slope in this case is just 2. Last example, an equation for a line is given as y equals 0.75x plus 0.2. What is the slope of this line? You may recognize this immediately as slope-intercept form, where the slope is given by, so that's y equals mx plus b. Slope is the m term, so 0.75 in this case, and then b is going to be your y-intercept. So your y-intercept is 0.2. We don't need to worry about that for this question, though, because our slope, 0.75.